Is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bird Flock Podcast. Shayner, the regular season is here. The Owls wrapped up their preseason 1-1. Obviously, game one, we saw a lot more of the starters and the everyday guys than we did in game two. But Shayner, we're headed into week one. How are you feeling?
I'm excited. I'm ready for it to get going. It's been a long time. Um, there's a new face in the starting receiving core, a face that I don't think a lot of people thought we'd be seeing. In Charleston Rambo, balled out in the preseason, so I'm excited to see how he fits in this offense with all the starters going.
100%. 100%. That was, a lot of people are calling him the 2024 Austin Mack. I mean, they're not necessarily the same type of receiver, the same type of player, but I could see it. I could see it. So, first of all, the first thing I want to get out of the way is just how much they actually dogged us, right? The Grey Cup champs are starting the season on the road against the team they played in the
Two
Grey Cup.
games, two games, two first games are on the road.
It doesn't even make sense to me, but obviously the Owls open up their season on Thursday, which if you're listening to it today, on the day we release it, it's today, against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What's kind of your thought process going into that game? I think the Alouettes got a lot better this offseason. We retained all the pieces we needed to retain. We added in pieces where we needed to add in pieces. How do you kind of see this matchup going down?
Yeah, I think like you said, it's another year of them gelling together. It's another year of guys coming in that didn't play as much last year. You look at if you look at the depth chart, Najee Murray starting out at halfback. That's a guy that missed massive portion of the year, including the Grey Cup run. Reggie Stubblefield's obviously in year two. D line, we got some new faces out there. Uh, Offense is a little bit different. No William Stanback for the first time in I don't even know how long, 6-7 years I think, which is a shock. But you know it's a team that is probably going to be pass heavy first. We've seen Walter Fletcher be a dog in the run game, but they use him well in the pass game. So I think the offense is going to be way more pass heavy this year. But as for the matchup, if you look at the books are thinking this is going to be a rout by Winnipeg, which is kind of crazy. It's plus 7.5 right now
That's
for
crazy.
Montreal, which I don't understand. Is coming off the exact team that just beat them in the Grey Cup. I get the revenge story. I get they're at home, but 7.5 is wild. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how Cody starts. We'll see how he gels with Rambo, and I know Speaker's in that lineup, and I talked about him preseason. So I'm excited to see the air raid offense that Jason Moss gets going.
100%. I'm right there with you. And one of the names that we're not going to see this week that we thought for sure we would is the other Reggie on the offensive side of the ball.
Where's my guy?
I don't know where he's at. He's listed, I think, as a hip injury now, so unrelated to the knee that kept him out all of last year and the end of the 2022 season. But um, how much do you think this is more so just giving him more time to get fully healthy versus an actual legitimate rib injury? Like I really just don't even know at this point.
I don't know. See, I don't know how serious it is, but I think with the emergence of Rambo, it helped. I
Mhm.
think it bought him more time to get healthy, and I think this is why not? You're in week one. What's the point in hurting Reggie more and making him miss extended time after he just missed a year and a half? So give him the time he needs to get healthy. Let Rambo get in the offense, and that way when he does come back, then you have six starting caliber receivers.
Yeah, and one of the guys that is no longer with the Alouettes, which is due in large part to the emergence of Charleston Rambo in the preseason, is Tevin Jones. I think you and I were both shocked when the Owls released him with their cuts. We'll get into the rest of the cuts in a little bit, but um, how such it seems so weird. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely one I wasn't expecting. Rambo came out, sniped his job, then sniped his number. So I don't know. It was one I wasn't really expecting. I think that was the name. There's two names on that list that obviously I was really shocked to see go. Smoke Monday obviously being the other one. I talked about him last episode, but a guy that you was kind of your big name free agent that you signed in Tevin Jones, and he didn't even make it to week one was really shocking to me.
Yeah, no, 100%. And now he hasn't been picked up yet, has he?
Not that I've seen, no.
No, and I feel like the Owls there were some other decently large releases, but I think the Owls had probably the shock of this period releasing Tevin Jones. So it look, I didn't grow attached to the guy. I was excited when they brought him in, but like I'm okay to say goodbye, I guess. But no, I'm excited for this receiving core. I think you look at it, it's still there's still a lot of depth, right? And especially when Reggie comes back, this move doesn't make me nervous, right? I was excited, and if this means we get to keep Charleston Rambo, then look, I'm all for it. Now, wanting to get into some of the other releases, you mentioned Smoke Monday as the other one that was kind of your big shocker when it came to the cut down. Was there any other names that really jumped off the board for you, whether it was being assigned to practice squad, not making the roster, or even guys that you were shocked to see make the opening day roster?
I think Tyson Copeland was a guy that I was kind of shocked that um, I think he was signed to the practice squad. That was one that kind of shocked me a little bit. I thought for sure he'd get reps as a backup, and he played on special teams last year, so I thought for sure he'd be a guy that they kept around. Um, as for that, I think Maxim Lavallee, him too, he was kind of let go, and Frederick Antoine was let go too. I asked you if it was just a move to send him back to Laval, but we don't really think it is at this time, which is pretty surprising that he was a guy that I knew they going into the draft they were probably looking at, and for him to get cut that quick was really shocking for me. You are muted, my friend.
Yeah, rookie. No, so yeah, Fred Antoine, it doesn't seem to be a move to send him back to Laval. I have no idea how much eligibility he has because he did come from the States, came back to Canada, played 2 seasons at Laval. So I don't know what his eligibility situation is looking like, but for 2024 draft picks, if the team wants to retain their rights and send them back to school, they suspend the player. Right. That's what we did with some of the guys who actually cracked the roster this year, like a Theo Grant, the O
Mm.
line out of Queens. He was suspended, quote unquote, by the Alouettes, which basically just means go back to school. We still have your rights. And, in 2024, you can come back, try out for the team again. And then I think they can do that once. Right. So they did that with Theo Grant last year. He was one that I'm super excited to see make the roster this year. That one was really exciting. Obviously, 2023 draft pick. Another one for me was Arthur Hamley, who isn't going to start the year on the active roster because he's injured. He's on the 1 game injured list. I don't know if that's a fake injury or if he's actually injured. Like not like a fake, like
Yeah, I know what
fake
you
in the
mean.
sense that to keep him like just for not to have him on the practice squad. Um, but yeah, he was one that I'm really excited to see crack the active roster, right? Canadian, obviously, and just continuing that lineage of Canadian safeties, right? We mentioned that when he was drafted, he'll get to work behind Dequoy for the next 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it is. Um, and he looked good in the preseason. He had a lot of reps in the preseason as well. So that was another one that I was really excited to see him crack the opening day roster.
Another guy I knew you were excited about that I'm going to let you talk about. Cravon LeBlanc also made that on the depth chart. He's listed behind Nafis Lyon on outside corner. Um, I'm sure he's going to get reps. There's not many corners dressing for Montreal tomorrow, so I'll let you talk about him a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, in that first preseason game against the Argonauts, I feel like he was on the field for 90% of the game on defense, like 90% of the defensive snaps. He was everywhere. He started off at corner. He ended up playing some reps at half, but he was all over the field, right? He was an immediate impact, and you saw it and you noticed him. And all the Quebec fans obviously they're like, "Hey, Leblanc." So they thought he was one of their own, but um no, he was all over the field. And I texted you, you weren't able to make the game, but I texted you and said, this guy is jumping off the page for me. Like he looks really good. Um, so again, I'm happy to see him obviously crack the roster. It's not a surprise, but with the whole situation last year, who knows? But um, no, it was really exciting. I mean, he really did just look better than a lot of the players out there.
Yeah, and he's kind of got a 6 game tryout, I guess, with Wesley Sutton out there on the 6 game list,
Mhm.
6 game injured list. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of him going forward.
Yeah. And then the only other name that I was kind of upset to see be released was Aaron Lynch. I think, the NFL vet, you would have loved to see what he could do in the CFL. Um, I don't know why he was released. I'm sure it's just a ratio thing. But if he wants to play in the CFL, I have no doubt that he will have another team calling him very quickly. He looked good in the preseason too. I didn't notice him too much. I didn't notice him taking too many snaps, but he looked really good as well. So that was another one I was kind of upset to see go. And then other than that, a few other guys I was really excited to see crack the opening day roster were Shedler Furvius. So he was like a sixth or seventh round pick last year. Again, same as Arthur Hamlin. He's not going to play tomorrow or today. He's starting the year off on the 1 game injured list, but again, just another guy came into camp last year, balled out, earned his spot, and obviously continued to earn his spot this year. So I'm super excited to see that. And then ended up dressing for the Grey Cup last year, which is just awesome in your rookie year.
Hmm.
Um, and then other than that, the one other guy that I wanted to mention from the preseason, and not surprising that he cracked the opening day roster, obviously, is the Al's first round pick, Jeff Cantu Arquin. Um, he had another um, he had another great preseason. He was right up there with Cravon LeBlanc. He jumped off the page for me. He was in on every tackle. Obviously, similar to the Dequoy situation, he's going to be able to sit behind Sankey for the next few years and really absorb and really learn what it takes. I still don't know if he's a middle linebacker, but he fit the part when I saw him playing there last week. So who am I to judge?
Yeah, I got nothing else to touch on. But I want to talk about now moving to the opening day roster and players that are not playing. Obviously, unfortunately, Jamar McGloster, who stepped in big time, was not is now on the 6 game list. So Donovan's sitting there, and is a guy I talked about in the first episode of preseason. A guy that's stepping up that's going to get a chance that I said could be a little bit like McGloster, and a guy who sat on the practice squad and now made his way up to the starting lineup for week 1. So I'm excited to see him. Unfortunately, one of the maybe the biggest free agent signing for Montreal this offseason, Dylan Wynn, also not playing on the 1 game list. And you guys are probably tired of talking hearing me talk about this, but Tyrell Richards is currently sitting at outside linebacker behind Tyrese Beverett. It's time. It's time to deploy Tyrell Richards and get him on the edge as a rotational pass rusher. When Lemon and Ellis and Berglund need a fourth guy in there. So Tyrell Richards, I better see you coming off the edge.
Tyrell Richards could also play D tackle with how
100%.
strong he is. Like he could definitely slot in there too. But yeah, this is my first time looking at the opening day roster, and you weren't lying when you said we don't have a lot of DBs dressing. No backup safety, usually filled by Zach Lindley last year, who retired. No backup corner for KB and Ento. No backup slot or half for Najee. No backup slot
There's
for.
just one backup.
There's one backup. Obviously, you have the flexibility of a Reggie who can go out and play halfback. Um, and actually, speaking of which, slotted in behind Reggie, the designated American for this match, Cosby, he had a great preseason too. I think that's a guy who flew under the radar. Didn't really hear much about him all preseason, all training camp, or all off season, all training camp. And then when it came to preseason, he was balling out. He had a huge hit against the Red Blacks. That the Owls posted on social media went a little crazy there, but he's another one that I'm very excited to see. I think he can do a lot of great things on special teams. But yeah, like the roster, looking at having looked at the preseason roster for the past 2 weeks, this roster looks so tiny. I'm like it
Yeah.
looks like there's no one playing. But no, I'm excited. This is a great team. I'm excited to see Sibasu back in there. Obviously, great special teams guy. That's one guy, Shayner. I texted you when I saw him. He looks unreal. He looks like he lost some weight, leaned out, put on a lot of muscle. He looks really good. So I could
Wearing a
see
nice new fresh number also.
that's it. And fresh number 3. No, he looked really good too. So I'm super excited to see him ball out all year. There's not a guy on this roster where I'm not excited to see them play. Like I'm
Yeah,
so excited for the game tonight.
there was one little shock to me. Um, not not too much of a shock, but I thought for sure he would get game one. That's Christian Matt not starting. They have Gagno in at right guard. I thought for sure Christian Matt was obviously going to take his role that he's had for the last 10, 15 years, whatever it is. But
Yeah,
maybe that was something that was talked about when he resigned, turning into maybe an additional coach with LBJ. But I'm excited for Gagno to finally get his chance and opening day roster and starting. So he's been a guy that's been with the Owls for a while and bounced around and always came back. So happy that he's finally getting a chance and we'll see what he could do.
100%. 100%. Now that we kind of have this um game preview, roster preview out of the way, I want to take a step back, look at the entire season. Right? This is the 2024 season preview episode. So obviously there's a lot to talk about. So I want to go through, first of all, I want to go through every award in the CFL, and I want each of us to give our opinion on who the Owls representative for that award will very likely be, or we think will be. So starting off with the Rookie of the Year. I don't know what Charleston Rambo's eligibility would be like for that. I don't know if it's an Austin Mack situation, but let's just go with the Rookie of the Year for you.
I think it's obvious that if Rambo does is eligible, that he would be the guy probably, based on Reggie White being on the 6 game list and having that runway to be this year's Austin Mack, like everyone's saying. But I'm gonna go with the first round pick. I'm gonna go with Canton Arku. Um, he's a guy that I could see, minimal DBs. I could see at some point Reggie maybe having to take reps at safety in case DeQual goes down and Arku moves out to Reggie's spot, or Najee goes down, or someone goes down and Reggie has to play halfback. So I think we're gonna see, maybe not in the first half, but the back half, kind of like we saw with Reggie, Canton and Arku kind of go crazy a little bit.
Yeah, that's my pick too. I think offensively, you look at it. If Charleston Rambo, first of all, is eligible for the award, I don't know. I think he has a very good chance of winning this. I think all eyes are going to be now on Tyson Philpott. I think that's very fair to say. He's emerged as probably, not to jump ahead of ourselves, but as probably one of the best Canadian receivers in the CFL. Um, so yeah, he's going to have a lot of targets. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's definitely Conte Arcu for sure. He if he plays, a good amount of defensive snaps, which I imagine he will, with or without injury, I think he's going to play a lot of snaps. Just based on what I saw in the preseason, I think he's without a doubt my pick for the award. But yeah, it'll definitely come down to how much he's actually on the field. And then, I kind of hinted at it, but let's go most outstanding Canadian.
I'm gonna
Who
go with the new number
Alouettes?
one receiver in Montreal, Mr. Most Outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup. He burst on the scenes last year after he got healthy with Cody. Um, so I think he could win, not just for the Owls, but the entire league.
100%. I think he could definitely win. That is my second pick. My first pick, I think he's just going to have another incredible year. I think it's going to be Marc-Antoine Dequoy. I think
Yeah, I mean,
Dequoy is a very strong candidate for not only this, but for Defensive Player of the Year. I
yeah.
think if he has a season even comparable to last year, with the attention that he's going to have now, being a Grey Cup champion, being the best defensive player on a Grey Cup champion squad, I think he will have a lot of eyes on him, and I think he will definitely be in the running for most outstanding Canadian, and that's going to be my pick. Now going over to the defensive side of the ball only. Shayner, who's your 2024 Montreal Alouettes Defensive Player of the Year?
I'm gonna toss up right now, so I'm gonna let you go first, and then I'll decide based on what you say which one I'm gonna go with.
Dude, he came into the league as a rookie and was a top 50 player right away. And he is so goddamn versatile. He could lead the league in tackles. He could lead the lead in forced fumbles. He could lead the lead in interceptions. It's Reggie Stubblefield, man. Like I know he's the boy. He's a friend of the show, like our boy. but there's no bias here. Reggie Stubblefield is very well in contention for Defensive Player of the Year. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I was debating between three players, and I'm sure you could figure out who the three players are, and they all play linebacker for the Montreal Alouettes. I was gonna go with Reggie, but you took him, so
Spread the
I'll
love.
take someone else. It's gonna be the guy that plays on the other side of him, Tyrese Beverett. New contract. He was ranked, I think it was 22 yesterday in the CFL top 50. A guy that Nothorpe loves to blitz, loves to send off the edge. I think he might have led the team in tackles last year. He finished with 89. He also had 7 sacks.
Yeah, like I said that Reggie could lead the team in interceptions, tackles, forced fumbles. I think Bev can do all that and lead the team in sacks.
Yeah. So
Like,
I'm gonna go with Bev. I think Bev's my choice this year.
and then last but not least, your MVP.
Absolute hot take.
Talk to me.
He will not only be for the Alouettes, but he will be for the East. He will be the nominee for the East. Cody Fajardo's coming out balling this
Dude,
year.
100%. I'm not even gonna say another name. It's
He's
Cody.
throwing for 4,000, at least 20 tugs. He's gonna run in another probably 3 to 5.
Yep.
He's going back to that year that he was the West nominee for Saskatchewan. I'm going with Cody.
100%. I'm not even gonna say another name. I'm right there with you. He I just love Cody, man. His attitude, his vibe is unreal. You know he has that locker room dialed in right now, right? You know it. They're probably on the plane headed to Winnipeg now. You know these boys are fucking dialed in, and I love
Mhm.
it. It's because of their leader. I think Cody is the most overhated player in the CFL for no reason. I think he's the most, not the most underrated. Um, but yeah, I think just overhated is a people think he's not as good as he is. Cody's a
Yep.
very good football player and he's a very good quarterback. And he's the exact type of guy any head coach would want leading his offense, leading his
Fresh
team.
off a new extension also.
100%. 100%. And he's not the type of guy that once he gets paid, he's taking his foot off the gas. Absolutely not. I know for a fact just based on our conversation with him, based on the type of guy he is, he's ready to run it back this year.
That chip on his shoulder is still there from last year when he came over.
100%. Shayner, what else do you want to talk about?
You know what? Let's get into where we think the playoffs are gonna be looking. We'll start in the East. We'll start in the standings. Go with your 2-3 in the first round of the playoffs for the East.
I'm going to give you my East standings so that there's some more context here. Okay. So number one, I have the Montreal Alouettes. I think, and again, this is obviously an Alouette show, so I no one listening should be surprised. Okay, I'm going to give you my number four. Okay, and this is a hot take,
Number 4, I know what you're gonna say. Oh man.
but it has to be said. The Toronto Argonauts right now, I think, are the worst team in the East. I hate Hamilton, and shout out to Coach Phil Scamilton. But I think they're better than Toronto. I think Toronto's the worst team in the East, and I know I'm going to catch so much heat for saying that. But no Chad Kelly for the first 10 games at least.
First 9, I think it was,
Yeah,
yeah.
9. Dude, you lost AJ Willett, you lost Andrew Harris, you lost Quantez Stiggers. You're not the same team you were, man. You lost Kenny Pickett. You lost Darius Pickett.
Yeah.
Dude, you're
They
not even
lost
close.
almost half their starters.
They also lost receiver. Went to
Javon Leake.
nope.
Well, they did lose Javon Leake.
Yeah, but they traded him.
Oh yeah. Um,
Canadian, I think.
Curly Gittens.
Curly Gittens, yeah. They lost Curly Gittens. Dude, they're not even close to as good as they were. Like, not even close. So they, for me, are my fourth team in the East. Number three, the Scamilton Tiger Cats. I think they still suck, but I think Toronto's better. And number two, from the basement to the second floor, not the penthouse. The Ottawa Red Blacks. I think they got better. I think of all the teams in the East, they probably got the most better, the betterest,
The
um,
best.
the bestest. I think they got the best. So they're my number two, and then obviously number one, the Alouettes. So 2 versus 3 in the East, not doing any crossover or anything like that. Um, Hamilton versus Ottawa in Ottawa, I guess. Um, I'd have Ottawa moving on to the next round, I think, because by that time, I don't think who knows who the quarterback will be for the Tiger Cats. And yeah, I have Ottawa. They got Darius Pickett. They got Nick Mardner, who I think is a very strong candidate for Rookie of the Year too. I think he's going to be a dog. Drew Brown. I don't. I'm not the Drew Brown to me is Jimmy Garoppolo, right? I don't think no, like he played behind Zach Collaros for fucking a million or not a million years, but he played behind Zach Collaros. He goes in and steps into the best roster in the CFL, and shocker, looks like a halfway decent quarterback. No shit. He has
Yeah.
Kenny Waller and Dalton Schoen, and no shit. So I don't think he's as good as everyone's making him out to be, or as big of a solution for the Red Blacks as everyone's making him out to be. But I do think they will be the second best team in the East.
That's fair, yeah. So I'm gonna go. Obviously, my standings. I'm gonna start at 4. Well, because one everybody knows what I'm gonna say. Um, so it's basically 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna start at 4. I'm gonna go with Hamilton.
It's Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hamilton. I refuse um to say anything good about Hamilton. You guys have noticed that in the last year.
So,
Um, at 3, I'm gonna go with Toronto just because I feel like the CFL is gonna cut the suspension at 9 games. And give Chad Kelly 9 more games.
yeah,
And they're not going to go 0-9 without Chad Kelly. They're going to win a few games in there, and getting him back. Not saying they're going 9-0 with him, but getting him back is going to be massive for them. So I think they're going to squeak in the last week or two. Number 2, obviously that leaves Ottawa. And then I'm gonna go with the rematch. I'm gonna go with Toronto. Kind of gets hot at the end and comes into Montreal for the East Conference Finals.
ooh. Well, Toronto's not even making the playoffs on my side.
We
Yeah,
also So now, do you want to go to the West first round,
good.
or you want to stick in the East and
Sounds
just go
good.
with your Grey Cup?
All right, let's get to the Grey Cup in the East.
All right, well, we all know where we're
Hey,
going.
shocker. The Owls are moving on to the Grey Cup.
Yeah, the Owls are going. So we'll go to the East, the West now.
Yeah.
Um, Dawson, who you got? 5 teams this time. Um, so 1 to 5.
For the first time in maybe 10, no, maybe 5 years, the
I would
Edmonton
also
Elks.
like to say before you start, we completely forgot that Jamal Peters also left Toronto.
Jamal Peters also left Toronto.
Yeah. Anyways,
Anyways, for the first time in maybe 5 years, the Edmonton Elks, also formerly known as the Edmonton Eskimos, are not the last place team in the West
wow,
Division. That belongs to Jake Mayer and the Calgary Stampeders. I think
by
they're a
far,
bad team.
by far, they are not a good team.
Yeah, I think they're a bad team. Shout out to my boy Ben LaBrosse, though. Got drafted by the Stampeders, fourth overall. Unbelievable draft pick. I think he's going to be the best player in the draft. I think he'll be an instant starter in his rookie year. At number 4, you made your way up, but not very far. The Edmonton Elks. Okay. Um, look, McLeod Bethel Thompson makes a difference, right? He's a lot better than Corn Dog. Um,
Horn dog.
that was his nickname, no? Taylor from Corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm just I'm bitter, right? I wanted to see Trey Ford succeed. I wanted to see Trey Ford keep playing. I don't like that move, especially for the CFL, but I have them at 4. At 3, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Shout out Coach Phil. Not much to say. They're just a very solid team. They kind of remind me of the Alouettes like 2 years ago, partially because they have like our quarterback and a shit ton of our old players. But um, at 2, I have the BC Lions. Uh, yeah, the BC Lions. And then at 1, Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Best franchise in the last 40 years in the CFL. I will
Who you
give it
got,
that they're better than the early 2000s Alouettes.
who you got going in the West Division?
Who do I
Playing
have
the
going?
bomb.
Okay, wait. How does this playoff work with 5 teams? Is
It's
this?
two of them don't make it.
Oh,
It's
okay.
3-1.
All right. So that means I have the BC Lions playing the Rough Riders in BC. Give me BC. So then they'll play the Blue Bombers in the Western Conference Final. And in what will possibly be the most anticipated Grey Cup ever, the BC Lions are playing in a home Grey Cup
Wow.
with 50. Oh, no, 50 Cent is
50
the.
cents week one, buddy.
With the Jonas Brothers at halftime. And Vernon Adams Jr. and William Stanback are going to face off against the Montreal Alouettes and get their shit kicked in by the Montreal Alouettes.
Get
Alouettes
raw.
will win the Grey Cup 45-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay,
Probably
45.
not what's going to happen, but
All right, so I'll go now. Starting at 5, no shocker. By far the worst team in the CFL. Might literally only win like 3 games. Calgary Stampeders.
yeah. You
I
know what
have,
I'm doing if I'm Calgary? I'm
I'm,
calling Edmonton and I'm saying, give me Trey Ford.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, but
Probably not. But
I think you just tank for Curtis Rourke, man. You just
yeah,
got to tank for Curtis.
it's true.
Uh, going number 3 here.
No, you're at 4.
Number 4, sorry. It's because number 3 and 4 are a toss up for me, and I don't know who to pick. Um, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Week 18, Elks against Saskatchewan is gonna be the biggest game of the year. It's gonna be the deciding factor of who gets in.
Yeah.
But Saskatchewan finished the season against Calgary, so I'm gonna go with them at 3. Edmonton's gonna sit at 4 comfortably. Big improvement from last year. McLeod Bethel Thompson. The only thing that scares me with Saskatchewan is Trevor Harris getting older, didn't play at all last year. Well, played like what, 2 games last year.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that scares me. I could see a slow start there. Or they're just gonna ride AJ Willett till the wheels fall off and see what happens.
Still
Number
can't
two,
believe it's not Quebecois.
dude, it's so shocking. Number 2, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Ooh.
I think BC was close last year. I think they got a little bit better. I think I think Winnipeg is just getting a little bit older now. I don't think their time is done. I think they will be back at some point in the Grey Cup. They will be meeting BC in BC for the West Division, but they're not going to beat BC. So BC, the 2 number 1 seeds, once again, like we always see almost every year,
Except last year.
up last year, are going to meet in the Grey Cup. And obviously, I mean, do I would have to say it? We're going back to back, boys. Get the banners out. Banner number 2 next year in Montreal. Get it going. Drive for 9 or whatever they're calling it this year. Um, the boys are going back to back, and Cody's number is going to be retired in at McGill,
Dude, if Cody wins another Grey Cup this year, you have to fucking throw up his number in the rafters.
without a doubt.
Shayner, I think that does it, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
I think we're just going to get into quickly a couple season bets that I've
Oh,
placed
yeah.
that I think you should guys throw some money on it.
Oh, yeah. Talk to me.
Listen, plus 100, so double your money. Calgary under 6.5 wins. Lock. I just told you they might only win 3. It's a lock.
Yeah, Shane said so.
It's a lock. Maybe don't listen to me, but
No, I will.
and we're gonna go. And we're talking about Cody Fajardo. His line's lower than it was last year. He missed 2 games last year. How does that make sense? Hammer the over 3,650 passing yards.
Lock.
Over. He's hitting 4K this year. Then we got one more here for you, and that's Tyson Philpott. We just told you he could be most outstanding Canadian in the whole league. Face of the receiving core now. Over 800.5 yards. I think it's a lock. I think he had like 600 last year and he missed the first half of the season. I
Yeah,
think it's a lock with him at receiver number 1.
it is a lock.
Those are the 3 I'm riding with. I also went out there and I sprinkled the L's to go back to the Grey Cup. Haven't placed a bet yet for them to win it, but it's coming. So those are the 3 I'm riding with. If you want to ride with me, let's do it. Season long bets are the best bets. Let's do it.
Shayner, I'm right there with you. I'm locking that baby in.
Let's
I have,
ride.
I have nothing. I just do what Shayner says. Anyways, I think that does it now. It's game day. I'm so fucking excited, dude.
I'm so fired up, man.
I'm so excited.
I can't wait. It's been a long wait. It's even, we were already excited last year, but there's just something about being the champs and coming back on the field that just
We were
gets you.
excited last year when we were ninth in the power ranking.
Yeah, it just gets you way more fired up when the boys are coming off a dub.
I can't wait. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the
Well,
YouTube.
we didn't rip final score predictions. Let's run it.
Oh
Real
yeah,
quick.
what the hell.
We gotta go.
All right, Montreal 27, Winnipeg 23. Tyson Philpott 127 receiving yards, 2
Oh,
touchdowns.
beauty. All right, we're going low scoring today. We're in Montreal 20, Winnipeg 18.
David Cote game winner.
Cody has one rushing touchdown, one passing touchdown.
I like it. Who's he throwing it to? Charleston Rambo?
Nope. Cole Speaker.
I was gonna say that too. I like it. I like it. As I was saying, if you have not done so yet, drop a subscribe on the YouTube, drop us a follow on Instagram, on Twitter or X, on Facebook, and we will see you next week when the Owls are 1-0.